equals only one of the same x's. You didn't have two.
A function is, in general, what you just said. You're putting in your inputs, your x values, your domains. Each input can only go to one output. So every x can only go to one y. The outputs are called your range. Give me some numbers.
3, 8,
Set of outputs. Set of outputs. In the parentheses range.
22, 15, 60, 20, 13, 77.
All right. I have this set of numbers. We want to determine whether or not this is a function. Why is it not a function? If you look here, 5 goes to 333, 5 goes to 20. They can't, yeah, and also you have 6 goes to 10 and 6 goes to 60. Every input, the x values, can only give you one y value. So to make these functions, if I made this one 15, now that part's okay. And if I made this 60, I have a 15, I have a 5. They're no longer the same. And the 60 or the 6 goes to 60 in both terms. It's like when you look at your schedule. First period, you go to one classroom. Second period, you go to another classroom. Third period, you go to another classroom. Third period, you can't be in my room and in the next door room. You can't be in 2 rooms at once. That's what a function is. But you might notice on your schedule, you'll have 4th period here, and then it has another 4th period here, but it's the same exact number. Just because the number repeats doesn't mean it's something different. They're going to the exact same numbers. Now, I have the function of x equals x squared plus 5. You should know how to do this, no problem at all. What do I have to do? What do you mean, put them in? Substitute the numbers in the parentheses in for x. So why don't you do these 3? F of 3. I just take 3 squared plus 5. 3 squared is 9 plus 5 is 14. Anyone remember how to do it in the calculator? Well, best way is take negative 5, store it in the x, and now I just type in x squared plus 5. My answer is 30. Because negative 5 squared is 25 plus 5 is 30. If I want to do it again, I just go 0 stored into x. Now I just go second enter, so I don't have to retype the function. The answer is 5. Because 0 squared 0 plus 5 is 5. I'm just making sure you understand how to do it by hand and how to do it in the calculator. This is just taking it one step further. F of x equals x squared minus x plus 2. And h is not equal to 0. Find f of x plus h. So write it down first. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and put it in there and there. So I have x plus h squared minus x plus h plus 2. X really means x plus h. Now I'm going to simplify this. X plus h squared is x squared plus 2xh plus h squared, using the shortcut method. Distribute here, minus x minus h plus 2. Can I combine anything? No. Now we're using the same exact function. We're going to take f of x plus h minus f of x. We already know what this is from the last problem, right? That is this right here. So I have this minus, what's f of x? X squared minus x plus 2. We already did this from the first piece. All I did was tacked on as minus f of x. And f of x means x squared minus x plus 2 for this problem. Simplify this. Going through. Let's see. X squared minus x squared's gone. Negative negative x makes it positive x. So I have negative x, positive x, gone. Positive 2, negative 2, gone. I'm left with, and I'm going to put it in order, h squared plus 2xh minus h. Pretty much, I canceled out anything that did not have an h attached to it. We good on this piece? Now, all I've done now between the last problem is do what? What's the only thing different now? Divide by h. I knew if I threw this at you at once, it looks like gibberish. Because at first, you would have to write this. X plus h squared, what was it, minus x, so x plus h, plus 2 minus x squared minus x plus 2 all over h. I didn't want to confuse you at first. I did it piece by piece by piece. We did that first piece. We subtracted. So the only thing we're really left with on top is x squared minus 2xh minus h all over h. Why would the h's cancel out? What about it, though? Why does it cancel out? Every single term has a h. Because I could technically pull out an h. I pull out an h, it's h minus 2x minus 1 all over h. The h's will cancel out. Your answer is h minus 2x minus 1. When you see the problems, they're going to look similar to this. There's going to be numbers in for h. Okay? This is just the general one. This is called the quotient, or the difference quotient. Yeah, I don't have it on there. This is called the difference quotient. You're going to see this a lot next year. All right, next piece of this lesson is 4x minus 2y cubed plus 5 equals 0 a function. In order for it to be a function, for every x, there can only be one y. Another way to tell is to graph it. If you're able to graph it, especially on the calculator, it is a function. The calculator will only graph functions. Now, before we start whipping out the calculators and trying to graph this, Will the calculator graph it as is?
Why?
Why not? Calculator has to be y equals. So you just can't say, oh, I'll use the calculator. You've got to rearrange. What do I have to do first? Subtract the 5 and subtract the 4x. Negative 2y cubed equals negative 4x minus 5. Next step I need to do is divide everything by negative 2. So divide everything by negative 2. Y cubed equals 2x plus 5 halves. How do I get rid of y cubed? Take the cube root. Y equals cube root of 2x plus 5 halves. Could I type this in the calculator? Yes, then it's a function. Y squared minus x plus 1 equals 0. Is this one a function? All right, I have to add x, subtract 1. Y squared equals x minus 1. Okay, how do I get rid of this? But when I take the square root, it's plus or minus the square root of x minus 1. Because what does a square do? When you square a number, what is its sign? If I square it, it's always positive. So I don't know if there was a positive or a negative in it. If I cube a number, what's a negative times a negative times a negative? Negative. So a negative will give me a negative. What's a positive times a positive times a positive? Positive. So the third, or taking a cube root, doesn't matter what the sign is. Square root, it does because I don't know if it was plus or minus on the inside. Thank you. That means the fourth root, it has to be plus or minus. The sixth, any multiple of all the even roots, you have to be plus or minus. So I can't put this in the calculator. I can't put plus or minus in the calculator. The only way to do this in the calculator is to do it on two separate lines. Do this minus 1. On the other one, do minus x minus 1. Okay, I put them in the calculator. When I graph it, that's the top one, that's the bottom one. One thing we also learned about functions way back, looking at its graph, vertical line test. It failed because if up and down, it's going to hit twice. That's another reason why it fails. Yeah, it's applying all the prior knowledge and now throwing it together. So here's the shortcut. Do I need to rearrange everything? What do I need to look at? I need to look at the y. If I look at the y and it's even, not a function. If it's odd, it is going to be a function. Right, so you have to rearrange it. You still need to rearrange it, but then say, is it or not a function? What we want to find here is the domain of this function. I have x squared minus 6x all over x minus 1. When I'm talking about the domain, is there any x value I can't put in there? Can I put in any positive number? Looking on the top, are there any limitations to the top? Can I put in anything I want? Any negative, any 0, or actually 0, or positive? On the bottom, I can't put in 1. So this one, the domain, is all real numbers. X is not equal to 1.
So that's top and bottom, right?
Well, right, because top's fine. Because x is x on top and bottom.
That's all you do.
That's all you have to write. All you do is look on the top. Is there any limitations for x? if this x was an x squared, that means I couldn't be positive 1 or it couldn't be negative 1. Because 1 squared is 1, negative 1 squared is 1. Neither one of those will work. Now on this one, I have g of t equals the square root of t plus 2. On this one, I know there's no bottom. Is there any limitation on non-negative numbers? Is there any limitation on putting in 0? Is there any limitation in putting in any positive number? Why can't I put in negative 3? Can't take the square root of a negative number. So the domain is x has to be greater than or equal to negative 2. Because negative 2 gets me 0, square root of 0 is 0. No, because negative 2.99999 doesn't work. That's why. Because you have to think you have all the decimal points past it. You might remember these from Algebra 2. These are our step functions. So the step functions. That means if x is less than 4, you use the top one. If x is between 4 and 10, use the bottom one. And anything past 10, you don't use. Past 10, you can't do anything. You can't graph anything. When I have, there you go. If I have a number less than 4, I use the top function. If it's between 4 and 10, I use the bottom function. So let's look at the first one. Where does negative 5 go? It goes. Why is it going to the top one? Because it's less than 4, you only put it into the top one. It only works for the top function. So it's 2 times negative 5 plus 3. Negative 10 plus 3 is negative 7. There should only be one answer. I already know what your mistake's going to be on the quizzes and tests. You're going to put that negative 5 in for both of them. Negative 5 only goes in for the one that works. Where does 5 go? It works in the bottom one. So it's 5 squared minus 1. 25 minus 1 is 24. The domain of f is for both. No, it's not the domain of or off. It's not the domain off of f. All right, on the bottom, or on the top, any limitations for x?
Yeah, anything above 4.
Okay, it has to be above 4. But it can go on and on and on forever, right? So it's, the domain is negative infinity, comma. Any limitations on the top, on the bottom one? What? So it has to stop at 10. Because the 4 starts with this one. Negative infinity to 10. All right. This one, I have h of x equals bracket x bracket.
Does that mean the little two domain? I mean, what we just learned about the inequality type stuff?
No, it's not interval notation.
Okay. What we have to say?
If you remember from Algebra 2, this is the step down function.
Why would I thought I was step over.
No, step up is when you have the tails just on the top. This is the step down function. So if I had 5, 5 is 5. 5.5 is 5. It goes down. Negative 5.5. Think on a number line. Negative 6. It's moving down. So when you round down, think of a number line. It's moving this way always. If it's positive, it goes, if it was 5.5, to 5. If it's negative 5.5, it goes to negative 6. Which, try these 4. Negative 4.7 rounds down to negative 5. Negative 5 rounds to negative 5. 1.2. 1. 5/4. 1. It's 1.25, which means 1. I tried to trick you.
You tried, it didn't work, incomplete pass.
Any questions on this lesson? All right.